Whether you're practicing or teaching any kind of vinyasa-based yoga, I'm gonna show you how to make every single transition you do much more smooth, efficient, and integrated. There are 3 simple steps, and they all relate to each other that are gonna apply to every single transition that you make. I'm gonna break down 4 different transitions just so that you see the concept and you have something to work with. But I can promise you that if you get these techniques, they'll apply to everything you do in a flow practice. The first step is to slightly decrease your pace. It's just a tiny bit to slow down so that you're using strength and control in the transition instead of over-relying on momentum. The second thing you're gonna do is you're gonna focus on using counter motion to slow down the movement of the body as you transition. And in doing so, we have our third step, which is completely related to the second, which is you wanna treat the transition actually as a balance pose. There's so many times in our transitions, we don't think about it, we just kind of course through it, and we let our body weight fall one direction or another. But when we slow down, when we use strength and control, when we know how to create counterbalance, and when we think about the transition as a balancing pose, everything is gonna come together so much more readily for you. The first 2 transitions that I'm gonna break down for you are standing pose flows. We're gonna look at moving from half moon or Ardha Chandrasana to Warrior 2. And we're also gonna look at transitioning from Virabhadrasana 3 to Virabhadrasana 1 or Crescent Lunge. Now, when we look at these transitions will apply to every standing pose flow that you do, especially when you're moving in and out of a balancing pose. Then we're gonna increase the demand level by looking at how to smooth out and refine the transition of when you're in a standing forward bend and you wanna jump back to Chaturanga. And we're also gonna look at the transition from Headstand 2 or tripod headstand into Bakasana. So let's begin and let's look at the transition from half moon to Warrior 2. Now everybody, so often when students go from half moon pose to Warrior 2, they let all of their body weight just drop down and back. Now, when we do this, we're landing on our feet, and honestly, it's not the world's biggest deal, but there's 3 things that we can do to solve this like dropping of the weight back and have more integrity in that movement. So the first thing that I wanna do is instead of just dropping all of my weight back, I wanna slow down, I wanna bend my standing knee, and I want to get my pelvis a little bit lower towards the ground. So when I bend my standing knee and I lower my hips, instead of just dropping my hips back, I'm getting my center of gravity closer to the ground. This way there's less mass that's just gonna fall backwards. So we bend our standing knee, we get our hips to get lower. And then as we get our hips lower and we start to reach down and back through our back leg, in this example, it's my left leg, as I'm reaching that down and back, I'm leaning my upper body further forward. So I know that I wanna counter the weight of my left leg going down and back by the weight of my upper body leaning forward. So I'm slowing down, I'm bending my standing knee, I'm dropping the hips, I'm countering the weight of my hips and my back leg going down and back by leaning my upper body forward. And this is what I mean, everybody, about pretending like it's a balancing pose. So instead of just letting all of my body weight drop, I'm kind of thinking to myself, oh, this transition is like a pose. It's like a balancing pose. I have to kind of find this equal amount of weight on one side and the other side. We can almost imagine that we're trying to keep a balanced equation. We don't want too much of our body or energy to go one way without an equal amount going the other way. This exact same process is also epitomized in going from Warrior 3, stepping back to Warrior 1 or Crescent. It's the exact same thing. When we're in Virabhadrasana 3, it's a harder pose, so it's a harder transition for most, but our body weight is stacked over our standing leg. So we have one balance point. Now, when we step the left foot back, I'm showing my left foot, but regardless of whatever foot we step back, when we're stepping that foot back, we don't want all of our body weight to just go one direction. We want to bend our standing knee as deeply as we can, and we don't have to be epically slow, but I wanna bend my standing knee enough that I feel my quads working. as I'm bending my standing knee, as I'm feeling my quads working, as I'm letting my hips get lower, my center of gravity is closer to the ground. This way it's much more controlled. And when I step the left foot, or in whatever foot I step back, I'm leaning my upper body forward. So the weight of my pelvis and my back leg going down and back is being countered by my upper body leaning as far forward as it can for as long as it can. Then when I'm on my back foot, when I get that back foot to the floor, whether it's crescent, whether it's Virabhadrasana 1, then I'm gonna rise up into the pose. And I tell you what, if you've ever lived with downstairs neighbors, your downstairs neighbors are not gonna hear you dropping your body weight around. This is gonna be so smooth, so well-defined, so nicely articulated. So what I wanna do, everybody, to jump back to Chaturanga is I wanna use the exact same rules. Now, I can, just from my standing forward bend, put my hands to the ground and jump back to Chaturanga, and it's probably gonna be fine. I can jump back to Chaturanga, I can jump back to plank, and honestly, it's probably okay. But it can be much better. It can be much more optimal. So what I like to do, everybody, instead of just putting my hands to the floor and jumping all of my body weight back, which is hard to slow down because all of my force and mass are going in one direction, what I wanna do instead is I wanna figure out, okay, most of my body is jumping back. It's even in the name. So most of my body weight is going one way. How can I send part of my body the other way? And this is where the chest, the shoulders, the upper body come in. So what I wanna do when I set up, everybody, instead of just taking my hands to the floor, I wanna take my hands a little further forward than conventional. So if I bend my knees more deeply, as if I'm descending into a squat, if I reach my hands a little further forward of my shoulders, then I can, as I am jumping my legs back into Chaturanga, I can be bending my elbows and pulling my chest forward to Chaturanga. So it's a little bit of a feeling like instead of the body weight going away, the body is going two ways. I'm jumping my chest and heart forward as I'm jumping my legs backwards. And as we do this, then there's much more control because I'm in my center point for longer. It's more of a balancing pose, right? Again, of course, it's a brief and fleeting balance pose, but we're applying the concepts of balance. Now, finally, and let me preface this with two things. Number one, I am really uptight when it comes to teaching and practicing headstand and shoulder stand. So I beg you, don't do what we're about to do unless you feel 100% safe and proficient in these poses already. This is more of a tutorial on the concept of transitions than a, hey, let's go do headstand and Bakasana. But I wanna use headstand and Bakasana right now to lay out another scenario where we're just applying the same concepts. And this is something that is so important to me as a teacher that teaches a lot of teachers, is conveying the essence of a concept. Because I know when I teach my teachers and my students a concept and they understand it, it has countless applications, or it has many applications. Whereas if we just learn an individual technique or talking points, we might not have a lot of applications. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna show you how I transition from headstand 2 into Bakasana. So from headstand 2, I bend my knees, I bring my knees down into Bakasana. So my head is still on the floor, I bent the knees, I bring the knees to my arms as high up on the upper arm as I can. And then now, I want you to think about this pose exactly like you thought about the transitions from Warrior 3 and from Half Moon into their counterparts, which is our body weight is forward and we need to take it backwards. When I have my head on the ground and I have my knees on my arms, I'm not to Bakasana yet. I'm front loaded, right? I'm dive bound. My head's on the ground. Where is my balance point? My balance point is over my forearms. So if I get my head to the floor and I have my knees to my arms, I'm gonna feel like a ton of bricks. If I just push the ground here, nothing is gonna happen. If I apply force without understanding technique, I'm not likely to have a good outcome. So what do I have to do here? I have to lean back, but not too much. So I wanna treat this as a transition. I'm not gonna work at all, okay? I'm gonna lean. So I allow my hips to get a little bit lower. I kind of splay my elbows just a tiny bit so my hips get a little bit lower. And then as I do this, I let my body weight, especially my hips, start to rock in the direction of the elbows, right? So that the weight of my hips is going to lift the weight of my head. The power of my body is not going to lift my head. The weight of my pelvis counterbalancing is going to be what lifts my head. So I lean my hips back, 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 back until there's no weight in my head. When there's no weight in my head and my feet haven't fallen to the floor, I'm there. Then when I'm there, I have found my balance point. It's a balance. And then from there, I can start to develop the pose, right? I might be able to straighten the arms or whatever flourish I might have to work the posture. Finally, really quick, teachers, students are literally going to be shocked when you show them in one class how much more smoothly and skillfully they can move their body weight from one place to another place. This is one of those things that we don't know how simple it is until we realize how simple it is, right? And we also don't realize how many applications there are until we see it the first time. But once you see this, students and teachers, once you see this, you're gonna see this all over the place. And if you do have practice or teaching aspirations for doing more challenging movements or transitions, especially arm balances and inversions, if you understand, refine, and practice these skills in the poses that we almost kind of sometimes take for granted, and in doing so are admittedly sometimes a little sloppier than we need to, the transitions into the harder things are gonna be much more disciplined, and you're gonna have much more practice with it. As always, if you share this, like this, subscribe, all of those things. If you're interested in learning more in my teacher training programs, I have amazing teacher training programs. Even more importantly, I have amazing communities of students that participate in them. So you can learn more about that in the links, and I hope this works well for you. Thank you, everybody.